All right.
Oh, that's got a nice big shot right there. We're going to have to move up.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are live on YouTube from the Red Pill. And I've got my new buddy here. What's the name of your channel one more time?
Sons of Liberty Radio is where we're at.
Sons of Liberty Radio. We're in front of the Brighteon booth. And I want to get with you guys because we were talking about the Bible and the Constitution. And how far have we come from that?
A whole bunch of ways.
And how much better would life be if we just did those two things?
If we actually did them, not if we did the perverted side of that, like you've seen in history from men who want power and they'll literally beat people over the head with the Bible to this and twist it. They'll twist what it says in order to persecute God's people, to shut them up from calling them out from their false teachings. But yeah, if we would obey what God said, we would, and we used to do that. We used to do that in the country. In fact, people go back and they read like the Mayflower Compact. They'll find out that the first government was set up there, and they said they were doing it for the advancement of the kingdom of God. They were doing it for the glory of God and for the advancement of the Christian faith. And so you go back to Connecticut, and they had a Connecticut Constitution. And one of the things that they got going on is all they referenced was God, Jesus, and the Scriptures for their government. That's how they wanted to govern themselves. And then as far as the Constitution is concerned, I've never taken an oath to the Constitution. And yet I hold those men to the laws that they say they're going to hold to. And pretty much every one of them that goes to D.C., pretty much a lot of them that go to your state governments, those who are in your local levels, they all have to raise their hand before God and man and swear to uphold those laws, which are not to restrict us, they're to restrict them.
Yeah, that's what they have backwards.
Yeah. It's to restrict them. And so how often do they do that? And so we've got to get the mindset again. I think the people have lost it because, let's face it, we've departed wickedly from God. And God doesn't change how He brings judgment. Go back and read Deuteronomy 28, read Leviticus 26, you read the book of Revelation, which carries out those judgments the way Leviticus 26 says. I'm going to bring it to you 7 times more. And you got the 7 bowls and the trumpets and those judgments that come. And so He doesn't change the way He judges. And men haven't changed the way they sin. They just find new ways to commit the same old sins. And we're doing the same thing. We were talking about money in the interview that you and I did.
Sure.
What does God say? He says, unjust weights and measurements are an abomination to Him. When He pointed to actual money, He would speak of gold and silver. That's what it was. But the wealth of a man was bound up in his family, was bound up in his land, in his cattle, in his produce. That was his wealth. And today, where do we get our wealth? Our wealth is based on meaningless paper.
That's it.
And if people would read the Federal Reserve's own book, I think it's called Money Machine, I forget what it is, Money Mechanisms or something like that, but you can download it for free, page 3. They tell you right there, this dollar has no value at all, except what you think it has. That's it. It's just a piece of paper.
That's it. That's the Bible and the Constitution. It's just like the 10 Commandments. It's real simple.
Yep.
Here it is, guys. And somehow or another we get far away from it. I'm sorry, guys, for how loud it is. People just got out. G. Edward Griffin was just speaking, and before I end the live stream, I'll walk around and just kind of show you what you missed. And Bud's telling me I'm not talking loud enough, which isn't anything new. The mic's not working. What you talking about, Willis? Is my mic working? Hey guys, my mic working? Let me know. Neil, hey, is my mic working?
Here.
It's working.
It is working. Okay.
5 by 5. All right, thank you so much. So we are at the Red Pill for everybody that's just got on. Stacey's running around with Gigi. I'll try to get her in just a second. And me and Tim have been talking about the Constitution. Joe the plumber over here if you're familiar with him, I've been getting a lot of good interviews. The problem, guys, is most of my interviews are not going to be welcome on GoobTube. There's so much truth here. I saw people sobbing, crying. When you start getting hit with this, right in the face, it's like you have this feeling. I've got chills all over on my arm of how we've been manipulated and lied to from the few that want you to eat bugs and have nothing. They want all the resources for themselves. I'm going on a rant, getting far away from the Constitution and the Bible, but giving a few people to get on if they're interested.
Well, I don't think you're getting far away from it. I think the thing is, we've been trained in this society, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, right, left. Nobody asked the question, right and left of what? It's kind of like you hear the mantra of pro-choice. Pro-choice to do what? Murder your baby? That's what it is. Right and left of the law. And I had a guy, his name's Michael Peruka, and he took a thing, and here's what he did one time. And I don't know if this can catch it. It probably can't catch it. But he said, you have your Constitution, and above the Constitution you've got the Bible, and that's your law. The Bible's the law. The Constitution is subject to the Bible because God's law reigns supreme over all men, not just here in America, but in every nation. And then you get your right and your left, and what they do is they say, we'll uphold this Constitution, right? That's under here. And then they go over here and they start talking about things that they shouldn't be, that they're not authorized in Article 1 and the 18 to 21 things, depending on how you count it, that they can, quote unquote, write law for. And so they start talking about health care. Where is that in Article 1? If it's not in Article 1, Congress can't write law about it. If it's not in Article 1, they can't fund it because they can't write law about it. Then, Article 2, the president can't come in and he can't enforce anything. Neither can anybody in the executive branch if there's no lawful law that's been written. So we need to change our mindset to quit calling it right and left and conservative, liberal, all that stuff. We need to start changing our mindset and speaking different and say, you're either lawful or you're lawless. It's pretty simple. If you're in our representative government and they are our indentured servants, then if they're not following the Constitution, it is our duty as their employer to correct them or remove them. And I think more people are starting to catch on to that.
100%.
They're starting to catch
people
on to it.
People are waking up. It's really uplifting to see that.
Yeah, but a protest is not going to get the job done. That's a good start, but we're well past protesting. This needs to go to the place where the people are starting to demand impeachments, not just of a president. And by the way, if you think voting for a president is going to fix all this, it's not. It's going to happen in your community, with you. Things that we were talking about in the interview before. You're going to have to take control of what you can take control of. And God is ultimately in control, but He's given us spheres of influence, and if we don't take control of the spheres of influence we have, how in the world are we expecting that if you can't be faithful with a little, you can't be faithful with a lot? So, the principles that Scripture gives us are there. And I think when you were saying people were sobbing because they're hearing the truth come in, man, that's where, somebody needs to stand up and say, all right, like Ezra, when you read, they go and they preach for hours to the people standing. And the people are weeping because they realize they've sinned against God and all these bad things are happening to them because they've departed from God. And they weep and they cry out to God to forgive them. And then the guys come through and they don't go, yeah, you dirty old sin. No, they say, okay, that's enough. You've repented. Now let's go celebrate because God's forgiven us. And what does God do? He begins to bless them as they bear the fruits of repentance. And I think that's where, we've got to be. It's not enough to have the information. It's not enough just to attend the conference.
Sure.
It's not enough just to do things, that you think in your own mind are necessarily good. It's to be obedient to what God has said, to glorify Him, to love Him, and to love your neighbors.
it puts me in mind of what we're talking about, the story of Jonah.
Yep.
He was supposed to go to Nineveh, and he's like, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
He did not want to go. Well, God saw to it that he went, albeit through the belly of a whale. Puked him up on the shore, and he went reluctantly to tell the people that he didn't even like about God and how they've sinned and all this. He didn't think they would turn around. He just thought it was a waste of his time, and they did.
Yeah.
He saved the nation by doing what God told, and it worked out. And I always thought that was really strange. He reluctantly went. He didn't think there was any hope for them. They were evil and wicked people, but it actually worked.
Yep.
So I've got a lot of hope for the future. I really do. I think
I do too.
These red-blooded Americans are starting to wake up, and they're starting to see this truth, and it's starting to resonate with them. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's a problem that you got to deal with. And if you're like me or anybody else here, you're looking out for your family. You're thinking about your kids, and it all starts with awareness. I say a lot of times, right now is probably not the time to run out the street with a pitchfork and do all that.
Yeah.
Let's try to gather the people.
Yep.
And that's what I'm doing on YouTube, even though a lot of the content's not welcome here. We're eventually going to have to move to other platforms. I just got out of jail. YouTube doesn't like the truth, but when you're talking about the few that want you to eat bugs, their wealth and their money and all their schemes, and you're exposing that, you can only expect to not get so far, right? So, where can we find you?
Rumble at Sons of Liberty Radio Live. You can also go to sonsoflibertymedia.com. That's our media site. And then if you want to see what we've done as a ministry, sonsoflibertyradio.com. Sonsoflibertyradio.com. I'm on every weekday morning at 6 a.m. on Sons of Liberty Radio Live on Rumble. Bradley, who's out of Minnesota, he's on in the afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern on the same channel. And that's where you can catch us. And then Bradley also goes around the country in the 50 states, and he teaches our Christian constitutional heritage. He's got a PowerPoint,
that's cool,
several-hour presentation, and he keeps getting. Michigan has been his hotbed here over the past couple of years, but they've been having him everywhere from Alaska all the way down to Florida. So he's all over the place. So if you want him there, there's a contact number. You can click on the contact button, sonsoflibertymedia.com, top of the page, and there's a number there. You can fill out a form if they want to contact us.
Right on. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm fixing to grab you guys, and we're going to walk around the conference and let you see. Stacey's over there. We'll just kind of go hang out a little bit. See if I'll give that to anybody that wants it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys.
You ready?
I got a good one for you today. All right, there's Stacey. She's over there talking to Vincent. Walk over here and see what she's up to. Hey guys, we're live streaming. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm starving. I want food.
How are you?
Good.
Well, do you want to be on live stream, I hope?
Sure.
Okay. What have you learned at the Red Pill? What's the biggest takeaway?
I thought the snake venom guy was the most interesting.
That was awesome.
So far, yeah, I had seen some stuff that kind of had flashed something about snake venom, and I had tried to find more out about it at the time, but
it was
running through that whole thing. I thought was the most interesting.
It was an overload. It was one connection after another. Me too.
Yeah, it was like all these aha
right.
things happening.
I missed a ton of the conference. I've been out here making footage. But that's cool. So that was probably the biggest takeaway for you.
Yeah.
It made me sad to see how many people got tricked. And we're not going to say too many things that'll put me back in YouTube jail.
Yeah, no.
You just have to come here.
My family, for sure. When they're saying how broke families are.
Right. It did.
Yeah.
And the first Red Pill I went to, we learned about how it got here, how it spread. It took out all doubt. It took out all doubt of all the lies that we heard, and which is exactly what they were. So, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, Let's go. You good? You want to come on?
Yeah.
This is Vincent.
Hi there.
And what is your biggest takeaway from the red pill?
Well, I also enjoyed the interview with Dr. Artis, but I think the best part was seeing G. Edward Griffin live. He's a legend. 60 years telling people what's going on, and hopefully more and more people continue to respond to it.
I think he's 95.
91, it could have been 95. He's up there.
Okay, well, he's in his 90s. And he's scrolling around on his iPhone like a 15-year-old kid. I mean, he is getting around. He's still sharp.
Yeah.
Bud's over there making noise. But is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just people watch the digital if you didn't make it in person and sign up for the next one. It's a great community, and you have to get out there. We have to be the change and be better than average, like Ed said.
Yeah, because we're not normal. Normal is the definition of average, so we're not average.
Real quick, Chris missed it, and I want you to go back and watch the replay. If you guys can, watch the one where the lady talked about Ukraine and Russia. She opened my eyes to things I did not even realize that had been going on for several years. It's really confusing about what's actually happening in that whole entire situation. Go back and watch the replay. I think you caught the tail end of it.
I'm going to do my best to get her on
I'm
film
telling you,
right now.
That was fabulous information that we probably can't say on YouTube,
I'll give it back.
or we'll get kicked off. But it was fabulous. She said what's happening in Ukraine is a good possibility will be happening right here in the United States.
And that those folks are already here.
Yeah.
They're already here.
Yeah,
Those
they're already
folks. See, I was outside doing interviews. I plan on watching the replay as well. So if you guys want to do that with me, that's cool. I guess, Bud, what'd you learn? Or do you already know it all? What'd you learn?
I already know it all.
I knew it. What's the biggest takeaway?
The biggest takeaway is just seeing all these individuals that have come together that are like-minded, and
Yeah, that's
kind of
cool.
a lot just like us. And just some good old folks that just want to kind of see their country kind of go back to the way it was and become better. And if we all come together in a like-minded sense, then obviously we can become a force. But it's going to take a while to get that way, to be able to bring our country back to the way our parents and our grandparents, well, my parents and grandparents used to know. So that's kind of one of the biggest takeaways. Lots of great speakers, lots of good information, and we're going to go eat some good food.
Feed the midget.
Yeah, everybody's hungry. Imagine that. I'm actually fasting for a while, but I will walk a little bit longer. I don't see anybody. I'm going to do my best to get a lot of these people that we've been listening to on video, because I just don't know how much I can put on the tube now. It's a real bummer, because I have got some killer interviews, and I hope you guys make the Silver Symposium, because there's going to be a lot of cool people there too. So that's it for this one, guys. Have an awesome, awesome day. I'm sorry I couldn't read your comments, but I'll see you in the next one. Later.